So hello, well today I'd like to take a look at this complete Carry On. Well, I mean, years ago when I used to work at VCI, which was Video Club International in London, they did a special, which was this box set. If you don't mind, I can't be bothered to get it down. It's not really part of the video, but I'll go downstairs, hopefully on foot, rather than on my backside, as it were. Because they're slippery old stairs, those things, I tell you. There's Jimmy up. Go on. Snoozing as uses. Snoozing in it, a little sausage. So, the Carry On films. So, I think pretty much everyone in the UK will be familiar with them. But for people in America and other countries that watch my channel, they were like a franchise of comedy films, sort of slapstick. I mean, sure, political correctness won't possibly tolerate the liberties that they took in those days, because they started in the late 50s, and they went on and on. I mean, I've got them all on DVD, which is why I haven't bothered to take out the video box set, because I can show you this one. So there's 30 of the films, and over 43 hours of them, as far as it went. And that's the full list of the films. It started with Carry On Sergeant and ended on, well, there was actually one more after. There was probably 31, because Carry On Emmanuel wasn't the last one. There was one called Carry On, ooh, how am I going to remember that? I'll leave a link to it below. It's probably the best argument I have there. But Carry On Columbus, it was called. Or Come Back to Me, Nick, the man said as he spat into the wind. But there were, as you can see, the titles there, and they were all very, very funny. They had the sort of same usual team. You know, Kenneth Williams was very popular in there. Sid James, you know, he was the one that, he had a very peculiar laugh. He was and of course everyone loved it. That's Peter Rogers, the producer, and that's Barbara Windsor, who's lovely. She's passed now, as well. They're all gone. In actual fact, sorry, they've all gone. I realised my own mortality now, but this book, Mr. Carry On, is all about Peter Rogers, the life and work of Peter Rogers. And he was very, very gifted producer, in actual fact. That's the information that you need if you want to get a copy, sort of thing. Obviously, as usual, I just whiz to the photos, because there's no point in scanning the book. Because obviously it would be a week, wouldn't it, before the video was completed. But there's the Rogers family, and that's the young Peter on the right there. And that's Peter as a younger man, married to the very pretty Betty Box, who was his wife, and she was another producer. Between the two of them, they did very, very well in Pinewood, in actual fact. Peter used to have offices in Pinewood right up until the day he died, and he was still working up until about the age of 95. There he is as a young man, and there he is with his wife at home, you know, and that's him with his dogs. He loved the Alsatians. He had one right up until he died, as I say. My first wife used to work at Pinewood Studios, and she often met Peter, as I did, and not professionally in my case, but she did. They brushed shoulders usually in the Pinewood Studios restaurant. There used to be a lovely wooden-clad bar in the Pinewood Studios in Ivor Heath, and obviously everyone used to take lunch down there, and you'd see a whole load of people. So that's Tommy Steele, and this is Gerald Thomas, who directed the Carry On films. There were no, not that I remember. Well, Carry On Columbus was probably made at Pinewood, but I'm not aware of it when my first wife was working there, to be honest with you. So it must have been either I wasn't paying attention, or something else. I don't know. That's Kenny Connor. Kenneth Connor was a very funny comedian. He was often in these Carry-Ons, and he often played the mayor or something like that, you know. A lot of people might say, oh, they were useless, but I think they were lovely. There was Leslie Phillips is there. Joan Sims, so many famous faces. There's Kenny Connor again. That's Gerald, as I said, the Thomas, the director, and that's Peter Rogers. They were I loved these films. They made me raw laughing. I watched them as a child, you see, and I had no. To be honest with you, the innuendo just passed over my head, you know. The sexual connotations of the jokes just went over my bonce, and I was just laughing along to the laughter and what have you. That's obviously Hattie Jakes. She was another she's gone, I think, bless her. She was a very funny actress, very, very lovely lady. So there's Peter with Joan Sims. And low battery, that's no good, is it? And there they all are in the I think it was, which one was that one? I can't remember now. I can't remember, sorry, my mind's going, as you well know. But Carry On Again Doctor, I think it was actually. But Babs Windsor looking absolutely gorgeous as she was in her wedding dress there. Obviously she's in character. And yeah. Jim Dale, there's another chap, Jim Dale. So it's Jim Dale, Hattie Jakes, Ken Williams. This bloke was funny, Charles Hawtrey. He always played the sort of sleazy kind of character in the thing. He was actually a child actor who'd grown to become he'd done well. He carried on. Babs Windsor, Gerald Thomas, Peter Rogers, Joan Sims, and Sid James. But Sid James used to live in Ealing, in actual fact, down the South Circular Road, and I lived not far from where his house was. Obviously, we were in different time periods as to what, you know. He was there in the sort of 60s, and I was there in the 90s, and he'd long died. He died in 1976, bless him. He moved to Ivor Heath, Ivor Village, I should say, and he had a big house there, but he carked it, unfortunately. There were occasionally Americans involved in these carry-ons, like Phil Silvers, who was an immeasurably funny bloke, very, very funny, Phil Silvers. Sergeant Bilko, as I'm sure, on the American side of the pond, you guys and girls will know him, because he was about as funny as it could get. But I don't know if there's more photos. There are. So that's Peter and Betty with his wife. Obviously, they're in Venice at this point in time. And now they look like they're sort of celebrating, you know, the good old days. And that was Peter's birthday. I'm reading the 70th birthday. And there's him with Babs. They got on very well. They were like a network of people. They used to call them back in, you know. And they were such great friends, so I've read in this book. And you can see that coming across, in actual fact, in the films, in the movies, as you'd say in America, that they made. They were very low budget. They used to knock them out in about a month, maybe less if they could do that, and they were extraordinarily successful. As I say, the British loved them because they were what they were. You know, they were of their day. There's a bloke called Bernie Bresslaw. He was a very funny fella actor, very tall bloke, very good friends with Sid. Bernie Bresslaw. There's Peter again, of course. And that's Peter in his dotage as an old man with his dog, with his beloved dog. I forget what it was called now. What was that? What it was called? Heidi. And that's in the gardens of Pinewood Studios. I've been there, as I say. I keep saying that now. I've been there, right? I keep saying that. But it was an old mansion house, and they used to do a lot of interior work in there, and it had large gardens, so they could use those. And it also had a big purpose-made stage where they used to film the James Bond films. In fact, they probably still do. The 007 stage, it's called, in Pinewood. And so anyway, this is a great book. If anyone's interested in the Carry On series, I can highly recommend it, innit? And as I say, they're funny. If you're into that kind of lowbrow humour, which I am. My mum can't stand carry-ons. She thinks it's awful, but no, it's like Marmite, the paste. You know, you'd either love it or you hate it, sort of thing. The yeast paste we have in the UK, you know. But I love them. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching. If you've got this far, I really appreciate it. All the very best wishes to you. Cheers.